There's certain things I don't like to talk about, and I love Jewish people, but they're powerful. I don't want them to misconstrue anything I'm saying or take anything I'm saying the wrong way. So I would much rather not even have this conversation. You know why there's not a lot of Jewish rappers? Because there's Jewish owners and Jewish CEOs. They run these labels. They're the bosses. That's why I'm uncomfortable.
What did Kanye say? He said, "Happy Kwanzaa to all the artists and
Happy Hanukkah to all the label execs." It's the truth. They run the business, period, from Hollywood to the music industry, everything. And I mean, it's a very powerful mafia, as they should be. You can't speak bad about a Jewish person because they have organizations and they're a close-knit group of people in power who will bring you down.
There is no darkness, nor shadow of death, where the workers of iniquity may hide themselves. Job chapter 34, verse 22. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Wadash. Double honor to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who were well. Peace and blessings to the Lord's elect to the house of David. It's a brother Haran coming back at you with another lesson, lowell and to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. And today is going to be, title of the video is going to be, Question to you Christians, ... Question to you Christians, ... Okay, and just question in the sense of, how do you defend this? How do you explain this? And this is what we're about to read. This is regards to the modern day Jewish people who claim to be God's chosen people. They claim to be the people of the Bible, and they are in our land right now as we speak, and they're using the name of being a Jewish nation, which there's no such thing in the scriptures as a Jewish nation, but they claim it, and they invite pastors from all denominations here in America to the land of Israel to have a meeting. And whatever meeting that is, really, the congregation should be asking their pastors when they come back some of these questions here. What do these things mean? Okay, so let's read this real quick. It says, in order not to leave any loose ends on the subject of the Talmud's reference to, they say, Jesus, who the world calls Jesus, to Christians and to the Christian faith, I will below summarize translations into English from the Latin texts of Reverend Pranitis, the Talmud Unmasked, the secret rabbinical teachings concerning Christians. Okay, and this is a book. Okay, it's a Latin book by Reverend Pranitis, Praniaitis. And the name of the book is The Talmud Unmasked. Okay, that's the book that they go into. It says the secret rabbinical teachings concerning Christians. This is a secret rabbinical teaching. So the rabbis teach this. All right, and the modern day Jewish rabbi is nothing but a satanic priest anyway. They're not anything but priests of Baal and such. Okay, it says, it would require too much space to quote these passages verbatim with their footnotes from the Sonsino edition in English. First, I will summarize the references by Reverend Pranitis refer to Jesus, right, so-called Jesus in the Talmud, in the original text translated by him into Latin and from Latin to English. So let's read. Now, you have Sanhedrin 67a. It says, so-called Jesus referred to as the son of Pandira, a soldier. Okay, that's false, but they teach this. Another one is illegitimate and conceived during menstruation. There is no scripture that says that, but this is what they teach. Hanged on the eve of Passover. Birth related in most shameful expressions. Referred to as the son of Pandira, a Roman soldier. Again, referred to as the son of Pandira, the Roman. On the eve of Passover, they hanged so-called Jesus. Called a fool, and no one pays attention to fools. This is in the Shabbat 104b. Okay. It says Judas and Jesus engage in quarrel with filth. in the Toldath Jeshu, okay, suggested corrupts his morals and dishonors himself. The Sanhedrin 103a. Seduced, corrupted, and destroyed Israel. Sanhedrin 107b. That's what they're saying, right? That when Yahushua was on the scene, he seduced and corrupted and destroyed Israel. Okay. Died like a beast and buried in animals' dirt heap. That's the Zohar 3. All right. 282. It says, attempt to prove Christians err in worship of Jesus. Reference to worship of Jesus in homes unwanted. Avoid appearance of paying respect to Jesus. Do not appear to pay respect to Jesus by accident. False teaching to worship on first day of Sabbath. Okay? Now, it says the above are a few selected from a very complicated arrangement in which many references are obscured by intricate reasoning. The following are a few summarized references to Christians and the Christian faith, although not always expressed in exactly that manner. There are 11 names used in the Talmud for non-Talmud followers by which Christians are meant. Okay, when they refer to you as Christians. Now, before I go into that, let me actually finish this and then I'll say what I got to say. It says, there are 11 names used in the Talmud for non-Talmud followers by which Christians are meant. Now, remember, this is what we're reading here is what is written in certain parts of the Talmud that these Jewish people actually reference. Okay, they don't reverence or refer to the Torah or the Bible as a whole as a means of their book. Okay, we do that. We go into the scriptures, both the law, all right, the writings, okay, the prophecies, all of that. We go into all of it. Okay, but you have these devils that claim to be God's chosen people, and this is how they refer to Christians. Wouldn't you think that Christians, going back to the book of Acts, right, that the apostles were first called Christians in Antioch. Okay, the apostles were called Christians first in Antioch. So that means that in order to be a Christian, right, a true follower of who the word English calls Christ, his name is Yahushua HaMashiach, right? Yahushua, he the deliverer, the anointed one, or the anointed deliverer, the anointed savior, same thing. You would like to think that people who will be called Jewish will be known as Christians as well, right? But they denounce the concept of Christianity, okay? They don't go into any of that, all right? They go into something known as the Talmud, and then they practice something known as the Kabbalah, okay? Which is going into ancient, esoteric Babylonian mysticism, okay? A lot of left-handed energy. All this stuff that's going on with this whole Epstein files and all these different things, that's got all these politicians tied in and all these people of influence, of power and public opinion, all these different people, presidents, ministers, pastors, doctors, lawyers, judges, you name it, military men, okay, you name it, they're all in this together, okay, and they have pledged an oath to the first commandment on their list, which is depopulation. They're all working together. All these Epstein files, things that people are now, oh my God, I can't believe that our president is doing this and he was caught up in this. And listen, a lot of people are just now realizing the things that we were telling them about years ago that they called conspiracy theories and called us crazy. Okay? Oh, y'all crazy for believing some shit like that. You think there's actually people going around killing babies and eating their flesh and all that? And we said yes, because it goes back to ancient Babylonian customs. They're keeping the same customs, bringing it back to today. You go, there's sex trafficking. Oh, da, da, da. It's not about sex trafficking. These are satanic rituals that they do. When we brought out information about the Bohemian Grove and the cremation of care and all these different things, people think we're crazy. Oh, you guys are just crazy. Now they're realizing these things. And you know what they're saying? I can't believe that this is what that's been going on this whole time. Why y'all wasn't talking about these things? No. No. Don't bring that shit now. Okay? How long has this been going on? Why nobody was talking about this? No. We're not doing that. It's time for y'all niggas to carry the burden of waking up to the truth and knowing what's really going on. That all these people that you care about, your celebrities, the LeBron James of the world, he's part of the freaking secret society. All right, the boule or whatever the hell they. All right, and they dabble in all kinds of left-handed energy, including homosexuality. Okay, all these celebrities are homosexuals. Okay, they just have wives and girlfriends and all these things as a way to masquerade. All right, their deeds behind closed doors, man. Okay, and all of them tie back to Talmudic worship. So let's read a little bit about what the Talmud says. All right, about you so-called Christians. You're always defending these people, calling them God's chosen people. Okay, well, let's see. Do they claim you? Let's read. It says here, it says, besides Nostrum from Jesus the Nazarene, I'm reading this verbatim, all right? And I will read it verbatim just because I want you to hear how they speak. All right, what are certain things that they talk about? I'm not going to substitute it. You know, if you know, you know. All right, so let's keep going. It says, from Jesus the Nazarene, Christians are called by all the names used in the Talmud to designate all non-Jews. Minim, Edom, Ahodam. So they try to stay away from being known as Edomites, right? We're the only ones. The true prophets of the Lord are the only ones that say that you have a nation known as the Edomites. Okay, the top tribe within that nation is Amalek. Okay, which are the so-called Jewish people today. Okay, that's a fact, and they know it. So it's not no hate; it's just truth. All right, that's why we're boldly proclaiming it. All right. It says, and then it goes into a whole bunch of Elim and all these different things, Goyim and all that, right? But we know them to be the Edomites, okay? It says, besides supplying the names by which Christians are called in the Talmud, the passages quoted below indicate what kind of people the Talmud pictures the Christians to be and what the Talmud says about the religious worship of Christians, okay? So we're not going to read the whole thing, like, you know, where it comes from, like Zohar, the Zohar 2 or whatever. You know what I mean? It's very insignificant. But the point is what they are saying. Okay? So it says here, Christians are idolaters, must not associate. Do not associate with Gentiles, they shed blood. Must not associate with Christians, they shed blood. It says, beware of Christians when walking abroad with them. Christians disguise themselves to kill Jews. Suggest Christians have sex relations with animals. Suspect Christians of intercourse with animals. Wow. It's just a mean way of protection to the most egregious degree. All right. These devils love to project. Okay. And we're reading it. All right. Christians unclean because they eat accordingly. Christians unclean because they are not at Mount Sinai. Clean female Jews contaminated meeting Christians. Jews called men, Christians not called men. Innocent of murder if intent was to kill a Christian. Christians and animals grouped for comparisons. Christians created a minister to Jews always, or created to minister to Jews always. Christians to be pitied more than sick pigs. Christians or Christian idolaters likened to cows and asses. So we got another page and a half of this to go, so brace yourselves for more. It says, Psalmist compares Christians to unclean beasts. All right, sexual intercourse of Christians like that of beasts. The seed of Christian is valued as seed of beast. Christians like the people of an ass. Marriages between Christians and Jews are null. They're nullified. Christian birth rate must be diminished materially. Christian idolaters, children of Eve's serpent. Okay? Idolatrous people, Christians, befoul the world. Non-Jew soul, or souls come from death and death's shadow. Souls of Gentiles have unclean divine origins. Non-Jew souls go down to hell. Replace dead Christians like lost cow or ass. Jews called men, but not Christians called men. Forbidden to sell religious works of Christians. Christian churches are places of idolatry. That's true. That's true. A lot of these churches are nothing but pagan whorehouses. Okay. It says must keep far away physically from churches. It's crazy. It says must not listen to church music or look at idols. Okay, because they're all idols. All right, all those images and frames and pictures and shit that you see in the churches are all idols. Okay, that's what people reference and worship. Okay, you go to the Catholic Church, okay, or any Catholic institution. All right, you're gonna see the cross. You're gonna see the Virgin Mary. All right, the mother and the child, and all these different things, which goes back to ancient pagan practices. All right, going into Tammuz and Nimrod, Tammuz, Semiramis, and so on and so forth. Okay. Let's see. Where do we stop at? Right here. It says, must not rebuild homes destroyed near churches. Jews must not resell broken chalices to Christians. Gospel called volumes of iniquity, heretical books. Okay, so the Gospels that we go into, the New Testament, the reason why they don't go into the New Testament is because they call it heretical. It's filled with heresy to them. Okay. It says Talmudists agree that books of Christians be burned. Okay. So again, this is for you Christians that you got your pastors that just went up there to the land of Israel for whatever reason. All right. And Pam is one of them. That guy, whatever his abbreviation is Pam, something Anthony. All right. Patrick Anthony Mason or something like that, whatever the fuck his name is. All right. But he went out there. Okay. And recently Elder Apostle Tahar did a lesson on him. Okay. Saying how is it that his church was about to go down and under. He takes a trip to the land of Israel. Okay. And then he comes back. And then all of a sudden his church is flourishing. Okay. There's a reason why every so-called politician in America pledges an oath to serve the interests of the Zionists and the Jays. They go out there, they go hump and touch on that wall with the bra cap on the back of their heads, and they come back, and next thing you know, they have a position of power in your society. Okay, what is all this APEC thing all about? Right? Why do you have your president, even Trump? Okay, DJ Trump being told that on TV, okay, that he's the first Jewish president, which is false, but they're openly coming out and saying something that's always been. All, if not most, if not all, your presidents have been sworn an oath to serve the interest of the Jays. That includes even going to war. It is in the interest of the Jays. So when they declare war, when they have Congress declaring war, okay, and they're sending your children out there as Kiss and Joe say, stupid dumb animals used as cannon fodder to forward foreign policy, okay, and then they tell them while they're in the battlefield that you're fighting for freedoms and liberties and so on and so forth, and they stupidly just go ahead and believe it, and most of them come back traumatized, messed up, and then they give them the title, oh, you're a veteran, but just in title alone, okay, you're just a veteran in title alone. Did they treat you as a veteran? Right? Did they really take care of you? No. All that trauma that you faced when you went to war, they don't take care of you like that. Right? The family issues that some of these veterans have. Some of them are homeless. Some of them saw things that they would like to speak about. A lot of things that was done illegally. A lot. You're dealing with America here. You're dealing with Israel. These are corrupt. The most corrupt. So when they go to war, it's never clean. Even in the time of peace, they move in a way that's never clean. Okay? So you got a lot of people that might have a clean spirit or in a sense of being righteous minded, right? And they see something wrong, they'll question it. They'll have a problem with it. And they end up in the military. And they want to come back and talk about these things that they saw that was, completely opposite from what they were told as to why they're going to war. Okay? Some of these soldiers come back and they're like, yo, man, Afghanistan, bro, you got soldiers that were raping little girls, little kids. They were shooting them in the head. messing up babies, and it was like, oh shit! I thought we were going out there to fight against a terrorist and shit. What the fuck? Yeah, okay. A lot of these things, these soldiers, IDF soldiers who have now become ICE, they've masqueraded as ICE. They're coming over here to the domestic land to wage war against you American citizens in your communities. Okay. So this is how they feel about you so-called Christians. You just had Trump saying, I forget what day exactly. He says it's a day in May that they want to designate for a day of national prayer. And I'm like, what is this nigga talking about? What do you know about prayer? Do you even pray? And he the same nigga that say he's never read the Bible in his life or some shit like that? Right? But I'm sure he's practiced a lot of things from the Talmud, but he's never read the Bible before. But yet he wants to tell you so-called Christians that he's got your back. This is how they feel about you. So let's keep reading some more, right? Let's keep reading some more. It says, right, it says, festivals of Christians called days of calamity. Christian feast days despicable, vain, and evil. Forbidden to observe Christian Christmas Day. Forbidden to celebrate Easter and Christmas. I thought they were Jewish people. They don't celebrate Easter? I thought that was their custom. No? Oh, okay. Forbidden to celebrate Easter and Christmas. Jews possess dignity, even an angel cannot share. To strike Israelite like slapping face of God. Right. But you do it to us all the time. So see, that's why they claim to be God's chosen people, because of the immunity that we have amongst these other nations. We being God's chosen people, we have automatic immunity against these other nations. If the Most High doesn't sanction it, they can't do shit to us. That's just divine. So by them masquerading to be God's people, remember, nobility is timeless. All right. When you're noble, it's timeless. It doesn't change over time. It's just a thing. Okay. So Job 9:24, they covered the faces of the judges thereof. They placed themselves to be God's chosen people. It's all a lie. It's all deception. You go back to the time of the 1300s into the 1400s, and then later on into the 1500s, you have something known as the beginning stages of the Renaissance period. Okay, where it is known as the rebirth of Greek and Roman texts. All right, the Greco-Roman spirit was revived. Okay, hence you have the time, the centuries that leads into the formation of what is known today as America eventually. Okay, going back to 1776. But prior to that, you have a time of something known as iconoclasm, whitewashing, and so on and so forth, the changing of history. Okay, so that's why you don't really hear information about the Dark Ages, okay, the medieval period, because that was when they were down there. That's when they were in the Dark Ages. It was Dark Ages for them, and dark people ruled at that time. So it was known as the Dark Ages. And they're about to enter into another dark age. This time it's going to be 1,000 years of hardcore slavery, okay? And then after the 1,000 years, they don't get to come back, all right, and rebuild the desolate places or some Obadiah 1. Let's get that real quick. They don't get to do that. Okay, they're going to be Obadiah 1 and 18. Okay, they're going to be Obadiah 18 verse out of here, man. They're not going to get to do Malachi 1 and 3, which we're about to get right now. There's a book of Malachi chapter 1 and verse 3 says, and I hated Esau. Actually, let's start at verse 2. It says, I have loved you, saith the Lord Yahweh. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith the Lord. Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau. So this goes all the way back to the book of Genesis. Okay, where you have the two brothers that were in the womb. All right, Rebecca went and asked the Lord, if I'm a child, what meaneth thus? What is this? What does this all mean? So the Lord explains to her, you have two manner of people are in thy womb, two types of people, and they're going to be separated at thy bowels, and the older shall serve the younger. The older came out being who? Esau, Edom. Okay, Esau, who is Edom. The younger came out as Jacob. Okay, Jacob, which his name eventually became Israel, the father of the Israelites, the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, so those two brothers set the point from beginning to end. From that point in Genesis all the way to the book of Revelation, you have beef between Jacob and Esau, the two brothers, the house of David versus the house of Amalek. Okay, and that showdown eventually comes to a point where it becomes a divine showdown, where Yahushua, the ultimate Jacob, okay, comes down to deliver the rest of his brothers and sisters from the hands of Esau, Edom, the enemy. Okay, so it's a very beautiful story ultimately. All right, if you're an Israelite, that is. But if you're an Edomite, well, this is what the Lord says, right? He says, "And I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste." Right, wasted away is he. Okay, it says, "For the dragons of the wilderness." Verse 4, "Whereas Edom saith, We are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places." Right, so you go from the dark ages, they became impoverished. Okay, when you go into that word impoverished, let's go into it real fast. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got here. Impoverished. Rashash. Rashash. It says here, to beat down, to shatter, to be beat down, to shatter. All right, it says to demolish. Okay, impoverish. Let's look it up in the online etymology dictionary. Impoverish. Impoverish. There you go. It has to do with poverty, but let's see what it says here. Poor. There you go. In the same sense, Middle English had also impover, also made poor, right? So being brought down to a low estate, all right, to be made poor. It says lacking money or resources, destitute of wealth, needy, indigent, small, right? The Lord has made these small among the nations that are greatly despised, right? Also voluntarily or deliberately devoid of possessions in conformity with Christian virtues. It says what? Wretched, disposed, inadequate, weak, all right? Morally inferior, and that's a fact, right? Miserable, wretched, okay? Unfortunate, right? Deficient in desirable or essential qualities. Ooh, I love that. See, he's both physically and spiritually poor, okay? Because he's deficient in desirable or essential qualities, man. This devil ain't got no desirable or essential qualities that anybody's gonna want to have. That's why they physically impose it on people. All right, they impose their will on people. Like this is just how things have to be. Because other than that, they will be very despised. Nobody desires to be like Esau. You know what I'm saying? Even he doesn't want to be like Esau. He hides himself, calling himself everything, every name under heaven except Esau. If it wasn't for the prophets that came out and talked about the name Esau, Edom, churches, Christians don't even know anything about Edom. They don't even go into that. They only talk about, oh, God's people. They don't talk about Edom. They don't talk about Esau. And Esau plays a pivotal role, the most pivotal role in these last days. As is written, Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So this is his world. Why are we not talking about the king of this world, the people who run this world? Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. All these Epstein files thing that's coming out is just a tip of the iceberg. You understand what I'm saying? This is their nature. This is who they are. That's why it tells in the book of Job, the 30th chapter, that they were driven forth from among men. Okay? They drove them forth from among men. People didn't want to associate with these creatures, man. Okay, so all this Epstein stuff, you might be disgusted by it, right? Hearing about how they eat babies and all. We've been going into that. We've been told you this is what they do, man. All right. So you can imagine what was happening on the plantations during slavery. You could just imagine that. You could imagine that. The little that we know is so horrifying. Imagine about the things that we don't know. And all these things will come out in due season. They'll all come up. As the Lord says, nothing that's done in secret, all right, shall not be exposed in these last days. All right, roughly paraphrasing, but everything that's going on, these secret societies and all that, they're not going to be secret no more. Okay, they're not going to be so secret no more because the Lord is bringing that heavy humbling. All right, all you niggas that sold out, you finna be exposed, and that includes dudes even in Israel. All that shit that y'all been doing, the Lord is finna expose all of that, because He sees it all, man. You can't hide it from Him. You can hide it from us, but you can't hide it from Him. All right. So let's continue getting some more on these how these Jewish people feel about you so-called Christians. And again, the question lies: what does this all mean? Right? What does this all mean? That's the question for you Christians. What does this all mean to you? Okay? It says here, um, it says to strike Israelite like slapping the face of God. So they know that. That's why they do it. Because in their mind, they have this, again, going back to the point, they have this disdain towards the Heavenly Father. Okay, like it says in Malachi, the Lord hates them, so they hate the Lord back. So they strike Israelites, knowing damn well who they're doing that to, because there's a desired effect that they're looking for. Okay? It's all spiritual. This is a book. So continue in Malachi 1 and 3. It says, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord, Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord Yahweh hath indignation forever. Okay? Indignation means righteous anger. All right? So just remember that. This is the beef the Lord got with these people. Okay? So continue, it says, a Jew considered good in spite of sins he commits. Jews stay away from Christian homes on holidays. Jews must not return greeting Christians. Do it first. Jews must not sue before a Christian judge or laws. Christian or servant cannot become witnesses. Avoid eating with Christians breeds familiarity. Do not drink milk from a cow milked by Christians. Never imitate customs of Christians, even hair comb. Wine touched by Christians must be thrown away. Now, just a real quick, just reading through these things here, obviously is using the word Christians and is referring to on the surface level, is referring to people that practice the Christian faith. But the truth of the matter is that if you look at the concept and the things that they preach in the Talmud, it's really something that goes against Israelites. And who are the Israelites? The Israelites are the so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. When you look at how the relationship between the Jays and the so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, it shows you that the word Christian here can be is synonymous with the word Israelites. Okay, you blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. So they use the word Christians as a whole because most Jakes, for the most part, be into some type of religion, whether it be Christian or Christianity or Islam, they be into some type of religion. All right, Jake normally has a form of zeal, even though it's not according to knowledge as is written. They have a zeal, so they always tie into some form of church or something like that. Right, that was just a thing. We all grew up in the church in a way. Right, our parents were into church. They'll take us there, and then you get to an age where you're just like, yo, I'm doing my own thing. But for the most part, you Jakes are, closely associated with Christianity. Right, it's they got black churches, shit like that. you know um and if you look at the modern day Christianity as it is, it was pretty much formulated to keep Jake in a spiritually docile state of mind anyway. That's why Christianity was created. Modern day plantation Christianity, as it's coined by the Apostle Tahar, right? It makes all the sense in the world, you see. So yeah, we're substituting the word Christians for you so-called Jakes. I mean, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans who are known as Jakes, for short for Jacob. All right, so continuing, it says, um, and I also want to know what Vocab thinks about this, because I'm sure if he doesn't know, he might want to go into this stuff as well, right? Going into the Shabbat or Skabath, the Chulin, the Sanhedrin, right? The Zohar, right? You get all these things, the whole ass shit that's written over here, man. Why don't you go into these things, Vocab? The Hill Koth Akum, all these things right here. All right, we're reading it. It says, um, it says, bought dishes from Christians must be well washed. For 3 days before Christian festival, avoid all festivals of followers of Jesus regarded as idolatry. So Christianity is idolatry to them, right? Because they claim to follow Jesus, right? Avoid things used by Christians. It's like it says, avoid things used by Christians in their worship. Forbidden to sell Christians articles for worship. Do not sell water to Christians for baptism. Do not trade with Christians in their feast days. Now permitted it says now permitted to trade with Christians on their feast as, it says now permitted to trade with Christians on such days, trade with Christians because they have money to pay. If a Christian is not devout, may send him gifts. So if you're not a devout Christian, they can send you gifts. Why do you think? Why do you think when people first go into Hollywood, right, which is a so-called Jewish establishment, it was created by the Jews to push a certain narrative about the Jews through theater, through movies, through music, and so on and so forth. And majority of the things that they depicted was taken by Jake. Okay, if you really study the conception of Hollywood, it comes from Jayish greed and perpetrating, Israelite struggle and Israelite stories in the movies and putting their faces on it to create a desired reaction from the American public. You see, it's all sinister shit, and it's all coming out in these last days. Okay, things that have been normalized and stitched into the culture and the fabric of America was all created by Jays. So really, if you think about it, that's why America is Edom, because it's built, all right, under the influence of Jayish, power. Okay, so continuing, it says if Christian is not devout, may send him gifts. So going back to your point, why do you think a lot of these Jakes start off, from a good home, and they end up in Hollywood, and a few years later they're so corrupt, pushing all kinds of madness, and you sit back and you wonder, like, what the fuck did they be giving these niggas? Like, what is in the food? Is in the water, the air? Like, what's out there in that Cali land, that the Hollywood weirdo shit? What do they do over there that causes people to behave this way? They always get wearing shades. They always hiding from people, right? They can't look in the mirror. See what I'm saying? They don't want to see what they really look like. Yeah, they go around selling their soul and shit. That whole phrase of selling your soul and all that, right? And they sell their soul through their backside. All these men that's in Hollywood, they sell their soul through their backside. Okay, Epstein files, Diddy parties, all kinds of weirdo shit that these people be doing, man. Okay, and LeBron been there. Ain't no party like a Diddy party. Yeah, yeah. Your days are numbered, nigga. All right, your days are numbered, and you better get off my team too, nigga. All right, so let's keep going. It says, um, Christian wet nurses to be avoided because they're dangerous. It says send gifts to Christians only if they are irreligious. Okay, so yeah, you're gonna get those perks. All right, going back to that point of the Hollywood shit, you get those perks as soon as you sell out. That's why you got somebody who goes in there in their first interview, they'll say, man, I thank God for, my family and everything that I got. All praises to the Most High for bringing me here and taking me through this. And, our movie came out number one. And a few years later, he's saying some crazy shit. He's wearing female clothing. He put the Baphomet up there. He's already initiated. He's already thrown away the whole concept of Christianity and God and Jesus and the Bible. He's thrown that all out the way so he can receive some of these gifts, because they're saying it. They're not going to be rewarded unless you turn, unless you're irreligious. If you're devout, all right. It says Christian nurse, will lead your children to heresy. Avoid Christian doctors, not well non to neighbors. Avoid medical help from idolaters Christians meant. Avoid Christian barbers unless escorted by Jews. Avoid Christian midwives as dangerous when alone. You see, this is all jakes that they're talking about. And that's where you have the concept of racism and all that is built on these principles. This is how you treat these people, the colored people, Oh man. It says, those who do good to Christians never rise when dead. It says, help needy Christians if it will promote peace. Hide hatred for Christians at their celebrations. Never praise Christians lest it be believed true. Not allowed to praise Christians to add to glory. Quote scriptures to forbid mention of Christian God. Refer to Christian religious article with a with a contempt, deride Christian religion without wishes, no gifts to Christians, gifts to converts. Gifts, meaning the money, the fame, the power, all that shit, forbidden to Christians, encourages friendship. Exile for that Jew who sells farm to Christian. Forbidden to each a trade to a Christian. Christian property belongs to first person claiming. Keep that Christian overpays. Keep what Christian overpays in error. Right? Yo, that's crazy. That's crazy. Jews may keep lost property of Christians found by Jew. It is permitted to deceive Christians. You see that? That's the Baha Kama. All right, the BABHAKAMA 113B. It is permitted to deceive Christians. Okay, crazy work, crazy work. It says Jews must divide what they overcharge Christians. Jews must not take Christian customers from Jews. They may deceive Christians that believe Christian tenets. Usury may be practiced upon Christians or apostates. There you go. There you go. Right? It says usury permitted now for any reason to Christians. Jews may lie and perjure to condemn a Christian. Do you hear this? Okay, like I said, the word Christian is synonymous with you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. That's why America treats you the way they do. Okay, and then I have another page that's filled with a whole bunch more of this bullshit. It says, name of God not profaned when lying to Christians. Jews may perjure himself with a clear conscience. All right, well, you can do that when you go into something known as the Kol Nidre, right? You know, basically all oaths that are taken within the year period of their so-called Day of Atonement, right? The Yom Kippur, all right, the Day of Atonement, it's null and void. It's nullified. Any oath they take, any promise, any deal. So if you're making deals with them within a year, understand that it's nullified because of the Kol Nidre prayer that they do. All right, it's like an oath thing that they take. So any oath outside of that, all right, it's nullified for a year until the next. So it's like until the next cycle. All right, it says Jews may swear falsely by use of subterfuge wording. Okay, hence you have double speak and so on and so forth, legalese, right, and so on and so forth. It's all created to cause confusion. Jews must always try to deceive Christians. There you go. It's just out there. The Zohar I-16A or 160A. Jews must always try to deceive Christians. Okay? So if your pastors are going to these lands, what do you think they're telling them to come tell you niggas? Okay? Do not cure Christians unless it makes enemies. Do not assist Christians' childbirth on Saturday because they believe that Saturday is the Sabbath, Friday to Saturday, right? Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. It says, okay, there you go. It says, unless beliefs in Torah do not prevent his death. Christians, not enemies, must not be saved either. Do not save Christians in danger of death. A spy may be killed even before he confesses. Apostates, so you got people that be going missing right before a trial or something. That's part of their Masonic diversion tactics, right? If you have any witnesses, in this case, they call them spy. Right? It's not really a spy; it's a witness. It's somebody who saw what you did. You see, but in order to avoid that, these people just go missing or they turn out dead somewhere. You know, interesting. But anyway, this is what they teach: do not save Christians in danger of death. A spy, or in this case, a witness, may be killed even before he confesses, right, or testifies. See, it's just about wording with these devils, okay? Because this is how they word it, but how it plays out in real life is what we just said, okay? Witnesses who are set to testify just go missing because they say a spy may be killed even before he confesses. It says, apostates to be thrown into well, not rescued. Kill those who give Israelites money to Christians, right? So if you're an Israelite, they say an Israelites as in referring to them, Normally they call themselves Jays, right? It says prying into Jay's law to get is going to end you up in getting a death penalty. So me kind of going into their Talmud, finding out what's really going on in there in the Sanhedrin 59a is going to put me on the death penalty. Okay, baptized Jews are not to be put to death, or so baptized Jews are to be put to death. Okay, kill renegades who turn to Christian rituals. Those who do not believe in Torah are to be killed. Christians, and that's in the Koshen Ham 42:5, 5. Okay? Those who do not believe in the Torah are to be killed. All right? Christians and others deny the law of the Torah. Christians are to be destroyed as idolaters. Captivity of Jews end when Christian princes die. Princes of Christian are idolaters, they must die. When Rome is destroyed, Israel will be redeemed. Even the best even the best of the Goyim should be killed. If the Jew kills Christian, commits no sin. Shedding blood of impious offers sacrifice to God. Yo, extermination of Christians, necessary sacrifice. There you go. There you go. Extermination of Christians. So get ready. Remember, all the people that run this technopoly that you see around this world, they're all ran by Jewish people. The Larry Ellisons of the world, all right? The Sam Altmans of the world, the Peter Thiels of the world. That nigga's a demon. Whole other level. It's almost like every week they increase in their demonic energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how you be watching Dragon Ball Z, and then they have they have those glasses that tell their power rising and shit. You could see these devils' power rising on the left hand side on a weekly basis. Every time they pop up on TV or on a video or an interview or seen outside in the public, you could just like, oof, the evil just oozes off their body, man. It's just, oh, you know what I'm saying? You could smell them a mile away, like, oh, that's an evil motherfucker passing by. Who could it be? Let me check. Oh, there go Peter Thiel. See? Oh, there go Larry Ellison. Oh, there go what's that? Larry Fink. All right, Gil Bates. Talking about, oh, Epstein was, I had bad company with him. Like all this fake ass shit going on, man. For all we know, all these interviews coming out of this Epstein interviews that are all of a sudden just popping out because they brought out the Epstein files. That's all part of the files now, huh? And we should believe that. It could all be AI, right? It could all be AI just leading people on and all this extra. It's all the psyop, right? This is a psyop season. February is always some type of bullshit going because it's the shortest month and they dedicate it to the so-called blacks. It's Black History Month. Have you heard any Black History celebration this month yet? I don't see it, right? It's not like it used to be. Back then, man, it was all Black History Month was February. Now it's just a month that goes by. Everybody's struggling. It's filled with psyops. Okay? Epstein files dropped right before Black History. Okay? So-called Black History. And now you got this whole thing, this Nancy Guthrie shit. I'm like, what is going on with this weirdo shit? Like, people go missing all the time. It doesn't take the national broadcast like that. So there's got to be a psyop, right? There's got to be something behind this because they only show you what they want you to see, and it's for a reason. It's just cast a spell. The broadcasting of the spell through the television telling lies to your vision, programming. Okay, so there's always, if they show you it on TV, that means they want you to see it, right? They don't show the prophets because they don't want you to see the prophets. All right. So anyway, let's keep going. It says here, we've got a little bit more, and then we're gonna close it out. This video is going way too long. It says, extermination of Christians, necessary sacrifice. High place in heaven for those who kill idolaters, and they say idolaters is synonymous with Christians. Make no agreements to show no mercy to Christians. Okay? Either turn them away from their idols or kill them. Allow no idolaters to remain where Jews are strong. All contribute to expense of killing traitor. No need for prayers while beheading on Sabbath. Prayers to save from punishment for coming Messiah. That's in the Shabbat, right? Shabbath. Shabbath 118A. 118A. Okay? So you got all this whole ass shit that's being written over here. Okay? But yet, vocab don't talk about these things. Christians don't even know this even exists. Alright? So they're just running around chasing after these J's. Meanwhile, this is how they feel about you, especially if you're a so-called black, Latino, Native American. I just understand that. Understand that. Alright? And your man's DJ Trump, he swore an oath to pledge allegiance to serving their interests. So if they say, yo, it's time to turn on the blacks, we coming after them next because they know who they are, and that's the biggest problem we have right now. He's going to do what they tell him to do. And the Lord is going to put that spirit in him to fulfill all those prophecies, including the fulfillment of the mandatory implementation of the mark of the beast. Okay? It's coming. It's coming, man. It's coming. Let's get this and we're going to close it out. This is the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And verse 3 says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Okay? So we're in the time of revelation. We're in the time of this man being revealed, being exposed. All right? Not just by the files and all these different things. All right? But it's going to be a whole lot more that's going to be coming out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Okay? And yet still, you're going to have people who are just going to keep on living life like it's regular. But these things are the Lord's last calling, because a lot of these things that you're now seeing in the open, we were seeing back then years ago. And we were like, yo, this is all true. This is all happening. But we were looked at as crazy. And being looked at as crazy is what led us into this truth. So in a way, the Lord is using these things, these last end time events, to go on to wake up the last of the elect. And after that, it's over. It's game over, man. All right. But we're in the last days, man. We are in the last days. At any day, anything can happen. You got a lot of things that's going on. The economy is tanked, right? You've got gold and silver prices all-time high right now. Okay. I think they went back down a little bit, but understand that it's just they had to rebalance because everybody was bugging out. You see, so you could just know that this is just a pause, but it's going to pick back up again. Okay, because that's prophecy. Verse 4, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 4, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. You have the technopoly going on. Okay, through that technology, Daniel the 12th chapter talks about knowledge shall increase. All right, the science and technology, sci-tech. Through that technology, they have put themselves to be above the power of man. Therefore, they become a god on this earth. They have power over man. They want to be like the Most High. You see, through their use of their means of artificial intelligence, their miracles, and so on and so forth. Okay? Remember ye now that when I was here with you, I told you these things, and now you know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. That's right. Right? The word withholdeth, I believe, is catechol, if I'm not mistaken. There you go, catechol. When you go into that, it says to hold fast, to keep secure, keep firm possession of, to get possession of, to take. It says to restrain, to hinder, right? To restrain, to hinder. So the Lord, for so long, due to prophecy having to unfold, he held this devil up from proceeding with certain things that they wanted to do. Okay? Like back then, prior to the year 2000, they wanted 2000 to be the year where they're going to start the mass chipping, because they've been had that on the books for years. Okay, but the Lord had them stalled to now we're in the year 2026, and you could very well see, all right, the beginning of the mass chipping this very year. All right, based on all the things that we're seeing, all right, it fits prophecy for us to expect some form of mark of the beast prophecy being fulfilled this year, this very year. Okay, and then it could be, of course, Lord willing, it could all end this year. But even if it pushes beyond this year, at least you could see that, yo, we are in that time. Like, this is it. This is it. We're going to be faced with it. Okay, we're all going to be faced with that, man. Okay, so we know we're at that time, man. We know, and they know that too. All right, they know it that they have but a short time. So this year, you're going to start seeing in the mainstream what the RFID chip and all these different things relating to health, relating to ID, relating to even employment. Okay, relating to travel. Everything that you do in this new age society that's being built right now is all going to be part and tied into the MOTB. Okay, your ability to buy and sell, have a bank and all that. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Okay, verse 7, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 7 says, For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. All right, and that secret society, those esoteric demons on the left-hand side, they're not being exposed now. All right, all this child sacrificing and trafficking and all these nasty shit that you're seeing in the files and all that is coming out is worse than what they're showing. It's worse. And all these people partake in these things. It's a rite of passage. None of them are innocent. All right, none of them are innocent. Verse 8, And then shall the wicked be revealed, that's the times that we're in now, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, the prophets, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. That's when Yahushua makes his return. Okay, ultimately what? The missiles. Okay, the missiles is going to make, the scripture says, make bright the arrows. Okay, ultimately the arrows of indignation. And it's going to be done during the time of our Lord's return. Okay, that's why we're going to be delivered from it. Okay, Lord willing, we are that elect number. Verse 9 says, Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. So everything that we just read, all right, that's in the Talmud regarding you so-called Christians and really you so-called Jake. I keep saying so-called Jakes. You Jakes, you so-called Blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. Okay, this is how these devils feel about you. Okay, this is how they feel about you. All right, so do what you will with that information. All right, with all that kiss ass that y'all be doing over there. All right, verse 10 it says, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the word of, not the love of the truth, and the word too, and the word of the Lord is the love of the truth, right? That they might be saved. Okay, they didn't accept the truth, so the Lord didn't deliver them. They're gonna be destroyed. Point blank period. All right, point blank period, man. After they take to see him. All right. So anyway, I'm out of there, Lord willing, you're edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rachakodash, the water Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai. Until next time, Shalom.